Welcome to P32 Workshop. My name is Jim Gary. In this video, I install new front coil springs and shock absorbers in my Workhorse-based motorhome. This video is one of a continuing series restoring the suspension of my year 2000 Workhorse P32 chassis-based motorhome. Related videos that I've done are linked in the description below. First of all, I'm not a professional mechanic. Instead, I'm a biologist, and mechanical work is just one of my hobbies. I'm simply showing you what I did and how I solved problems that I encountered doing that work. If you plan on tackling a similar project, I suggest you consult a real mechanic first. In this video, I install a new coil spring, then connect the steering knuckle to the lower A-arm via the new lower ball joint. Then I reconnect the steering control arm and put in a new Coney shock. I had a lot of problems getting the coil spring in properly, and although the video is only 20 minutes long, it condenses several days of work. So let's get on with the video. I'm getting ready to put the rubber boot over here. So I'm going to get out all the dirt. Just put just a tiny bit of grease around it. Now, this has to go inboard. That's to allow excess grease to move out away from the brakes. So this is going to go on just like that. And there's a metal piece in there that reinforces it, so it's not as easy as it looks. But I found out that this fits it perfectly. Okay, I think that's it. There. Seal's on nice, snug. You want a good seal. So the next thing is to get the spring in there. I'm going to be doing some cleaning up, so I want to put something over this so I don't get stuff in it, rust in it. So I've got a little paper cup I use for my shop espressos. And I'll just make sure I get this tape around it a few times. There. So I'm going to drop this down, and I may have to. So what I want to do is just wire brush this area and the area above here a little bit, and then spray it with some cold galvanizing. Just because I won't be able to get at it again. So the trick is I've got to get this lifted up a little bit to get it started. And then when I'm picking it up with a floor jack, I have to pick it up from the right underneath where the ball joint is. If I try to pick it up under where the spring is, which I tried to do when I was doing the other side, I ended up just picking up the whole front of the RV. And then I had to reposition and put the jack right there. So here's the new coil spring. This is the right-hand side. I've already got the left one on. So it's got the bottom end here, and the top end is here, and the top end has a smaller opening, so that goes up. And the bottom has a flat part just before it ends, and that sits in here. There's a depression here, and then right up here there's a stop. So it's just a little bit past that hole. So that end has to fit right into there to be in the right location. But you can see the top of the spring has to go around here. And it's really hard, I found, to get the top of the spring here at the same time I have the bottom of the spring where it's supposed to go. So I'm going to put that little bit of grease I was talking about in here. Not a whole lot, just enough to maybe let it be able to move it once it's in, before there's a load on it. Obviously, once there's a load on it, it won't move, but This may help me in the in-between time. Now the tricky part to all this is getting the stupid spring in there, and you kind of got to fix it in the upper part first, which doesn't make sense. Seems like it should work the other way around. There. And by the way, the spring weighs about, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds, something like that, so it's not so easy to move around. Okay, so now I've got it in about the right place. So I need to get this piece of wood in here to give me room to maneuver once I start jacking this up. I thought this 2x4 would work. Okay. So it's sort of in place, but it's not seated in the right place at the bottom. So I'm just trying to guide it into the correct spot. Above, and I think that's about right. This part here has to be able to swing down. Okay, let's see if that gives it enough room. Jack is tight. I'm going to just try jacking it up and see what happens there. Let me look at the upper part. So this is the top of the coil spring, the new one. And right along here where my finger is, that stuck out that way. And I couldn't get this upper part of the spring to fit where it goes up in the upper arm of the chassis. So it kept riding on it. So I called the company and asked them if I could just grind a 1/4 of an inch off or so. And they said that should be fine, just paint it. So here you can see where I've ground off this face right here. And that widened the dimension across here, and I think it fits. So let's see what happens. Okay. So there's the spring. It's sort of in. Here's the ball joint. The other part is up here, and I've got to bring it down, but it's got to fit all the way down to this, so the bolt sticks out through the top. And the problem I'm having is to try to lift this up against the spring compression, I end up lifting the RV completely off its jack stands here in the front, which isn't so great. Now, one of the things that might be happening is it could be catching on this edge here, but I don't think that's the problem. But I'm ready to try it. I've got this thing up on 2 different lifts, and if I raise it up, I'm simply lifting the whole RV off of the jack stand that's holding it. So that's, I don't want to do that any more than I have to. So now I'm going to try bringing the upper arm down. Just seeing if I can okay, so I've got it down. Now the top of the bolt is flush with the top of the fitting. So here's the bolt, and it's just stuck. It's flush with the top of this thing, and if I could just get it up another 1/2 inch, I could start the bolt on it, the nut on it, but I can't. Maybe over here where you can see it's going. So here's the bolt right there. Oh, there it comes. Ha! So it came with this washer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on without the washer and see if that doesn't just suck it up into there. Then I'll take the bolt nut off. Huh. So I've got it up a little ways. Keep. Okay. So now I'm going to try to jack this up a little higher. Try to take that nut off and see if I can get the washer on underneath it. Okay, there's the nut off. Now the original one didn't have washers, but they provided a washer. So I'm going to put it on. I think we're good to go. Okay, now I tried to align it so the holes be this way so I can get the cotter pin in after I torque it. Just want to make sure it's there before I go any further. Yep, it's there. Okay, let me go get my torque setting and I'll come back and we'll torque it in. So the manual says 90 pounds and you can go up to 130 to get the hole lined up for the cotter pin. So let's do that. Okay, I've got this set at 90, so let's take it to 90. There's 90. We have to go a little bit further to get the hole. Okay, 100. There's 100. It's not quite lined up. 120. I don't think I have to take it that far though. It's pretty well lined up. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out how long I want the cotter pin to be, because they come really long. Okay, so I've got it there. Okay, slide it in. So that's in, and now I just have to pull the bottom of the pin down and the upper end up. I'll leave plenty there so the next person have something to grip on, but the other one I'm going to have to cut a little shorter so it'll fit. It's clipped off. Now I can just tap it in. Okay, so I'll bring the camera around to show you what I did. So here's the nut. There's the cotter pin going down, and here's the cotter pin going up and over the bolt. So that's in there good. Now the other thing I've got to do is get this other control arm put in. It's right here. And then put in the shock on the other side. And this will be complete here. So here's the other control arm. It's just a little one for the steering. Make sure it's all clean. I'm just going to put just a tad of grease on it. On the taper part. Then it just goes into here. And the bolt will pull it down. So it's on there. It's supposed to be 46 foot-pounds. So I've set it, my torque wrench to 15 sixteenths. I'll go get that. So I'll take it to 50 and then take it a little bit more to line up the cotter pin hole. I'll have to make sure I go through and grease all the fittings. There are a gazillion of them. Okay, here we get close. There, that's 50. We just have to take a peek where the hole is. So I've got to crank it just enough to expose the hole for the cotter pin. I see it right there. Okay, so it's just got to go a little bit more. Okay, so there we go, and the cotter pin is going to go in this. So that's way too long, so I need a cutter. And you want just enough for this one to bend around and be able to stick up into there. You don't want it sticking all over the place. Okay, I can fold the bottom one around. Got this idea. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to go to the other side and put in the shock absorber. So I'm getting ready to put in the new shocks, and these are my new Coney shocks. They're supposed to be some of the best ones. They're certainly expensive. And it's got a stud on the top that goes into a hole up on the frame, and then there's a bushing here in the bottom, and that goes onto the lower control arm right about here. So we're going to go do that. I'm going to get the bolts in loosely and then come back and torque them. The upper bolt is 80 foot-pounds. The bottom one is supposed to be 75 foot-pounds. Okay, got the top one in. Okay. I'm going to bend the fuel lines away, or the brake lines, whatever they are, brake lines, I guess. Okay, I'm going to use the torque wrench once I get everything tightened up. Okay, so the bottom one's 75, top one's 80 foot-pounds. Okay, set at 80. I think that was it. Yep, that's 80. Lower it to 75. Okay. We're good. There. Okay. Perfect. The lower ball joint in. We got the little ball joint up here in. We've got the shock in. As soon as I get the other side shock in, I'm going to go ahead and put in the sway bar. But that'll be another segment. Thanks. Well, that about wraps up the video. In retrospect, the problems I had getting the coil spring in was related to the angle of the lower arm relative to the upper arm before the spring is compressed. So imagine the upper arm is flat and the lower arm is hanging down and the spring goes right here. So you've got the spring in a base that's pointing out that way, and yet it's got to connect up here. And the spring is very stiff, so when you try to bring it up, it's just really hard to get it to go in correctly. And also, I think I may have had the edge of the ball joint just below the threads catching beneath the underside of the knuckle. And I had to get physical with it and finally wrestle it into place before I could fasten the nut onto the ball joint stud, which was kind of the last thing you have to do. And again, there are links to a number of related videos that I've done in the description below. So thanks for watching.